my therapy, it puts my anxious thoughts to sleep. Helps me focus my attention, avoid the fear of imperfection. I know it's never too late to sit down and pen another verse. It's how I seem to calm myself down, eternally conversing. There must be millions of others out there who struggle with their words. But when I'm stuck inside my headspace, I'm in a lonely universe. But music is my therapy.
Good evening, all. Welcome to the F1 Fan Show Live, where we shall be reviewing the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. I know what you're thinking. It's the same as last Thursday. I'm still not the Gov. He is still, sadly, just watching over us from behind the scenes, not feeling 100%. So it will be myself and my usual cohort, Mr. Neil Moles, tonight. Good evening, Mike. That was a race, wasn't it? I absolutely loved it. ITFC Tweedy. Yes, very disappointing again from them. You thought you'd saved it in qualifying, but the race... where were they? Well, where was Bottas? No doubt we shall come to that. But good evening all, and thank you very much for joining us. And of course, if you are not listening to us live, you can, of course, listen back to us on all podcast platforms. Just search for the F1 Fan Show Live every Monday, 7:15, just so you know. And joining me, as always, is my friend and colleague, Mr. Neil Moles.
Wake up to the, wow. Wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. I Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check, spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
Evening. That intro's got to change for next season.
Well, when we dominate everyone.
Absolutely. We are going to dominate every team. It will come.
I'll wait
the
to
time
see
will
it.
come. What do you make of the Grand Prix?
Yeah, well, I was out in Norwich, which will delight Martin. And then I watched it later on, and I asked my sister and that what the race was like because they saw it, and they said it was quite good. Well, to be fair, they said it depended on who I wanted to win, and I said as long as it's not the normal chap, I'm fine.
Yeah, it was an odd Grand Prix because Baku is usually quite exciting, and everyone was saying, "Oh, we're going to get a safety car," and it took so long for anything to happen. Unfortunately, it was quite a serious, nasty incident with Lance Stroll. Pirelli tyre just letting go with no warning whatsoever, which was very scary, and he was lucky not to really, come off quite badly in that.
They're yet to admit that it was a failure.
I saw them saying it was
that
debris.
Hamilton apparently had a cut on his tyre as well. They're saying that was it the right rear is the one that would take the most load, and one of the fronts would take the most wear. So apparently the tyre that blew on both cars was not the one that should for load reasons.
It was really strange, wasn't it? Because obviously one tyre, it's sort of it's a shame and it's shocking. And then a few laps later, towards the end of the race, Max Verstappen, the race leader, he had it on a plate, and then the exact same tyre.
I was a bit miffed with that when that happened. You were just thinking, Hamilton's walked into 18 points here. Thank you very much. And he runs away with the title. But as I imagine we'll get on to discuss, that didn't happen. So
no, I mean I've said before that Hamilton is one of the luckiest drivers I've seen, and I thought it was going to come again. And it's amazing how quickly your mood can change in Formula One. There's a comment from JD Shaw. Hope you're well, buddy. Yes, I am happy about Hamilton, to be honest, because I thought that was just going to be the easiest win. Verstappen had the lead of the championship for a couple of weeks, but it was too good to be true. But we leave sort of as we were, really.
Yeah, Perez done some great moves and was holding him off for most of the Grand Prix. And
Perez was brilliant. He's always been a complete ninja at saving his tyres, and he was fantastic. We did a vote, obviously, for driver of the day, which I posted on Twitter. Vettel, unsurprisingly, won it with 72% of the vote because he was just absolutely phenomenal. Perez did get 14%, Gasly 9%, and other got 5%. So
Yeah, it's 2 races on the trot now that Seb has turned up, which is good. That's what we've been wanting.
Yeah, I really hoped we would get sort of like an old Sebastian Vettel back, like the sort of the early Ferrari years Vettel, sort of happy, jokey, smiley. And the first part of the season, he hasn't really been, because he's been struggling in that Aston. Hasn't really warmed to it. And then, Monaco and Baku, it seems to be a different driver in a different car. It's brilliant. And he was right there all weekend. So, love it.
I can't believe how far off the pace the Mercedes was. And then Hamilton, as you said, he missed the luck. He just somehow was in contention. And, of course, your mate really wasn't.
Oh, I messaged you guys yesterday and said there's going to be one hell of a moaning Bottas section on this, because Mercedes, they both struggled, didn't they, in free practice, and then was just fighting right at the top again and came close to pole, but Bottas was nowhere all weekend.
Second part, the team sacrificed him, didn't they? Because he needed the tow. So what did they do? Put him out first.
Yeah. Yes, but he's a bit of an afterthought now, so you almost feel sorry for him. And another second race in a row out of the points. Obviously, last time in Monaco, it wasn't his fault. It's obviously the car failure, the wheel gun or the wheel nut failure. But considering Hamilton was up there fighting for the lead of the race, Bottas was just off the pace all weekend.
Since our last video about the wheel nut controversy. It was stripping the thread on the parts that the wheel gun attaches to do up and undo the wheel nut. They were all stripped off.
Yeah,
apparently it's because he went too far in his in the box and they were not quite square on.
Oh, really? There's that much precision with F1 pit stops. It's incredible.
And they said that watch out for Mercedes. They might have to do some more easy, slower stops, but their first stop they did was 2-point-something seconds, so they didn't take it too easy.
They're well rehearsed on there. I reckon they've gone back to the factory and they were just practicing pit stops week in, week out, or day in, day out. Hamilton's slow stop cost him for a short period of time, didn't it? That's because he had to wait for Gasly to go past.
Gasly to come through, But did Red Bull do that on purpose? Because they had their mechanics come out to try and pretend they were going to stop, and Mercedes jumped first.
I think so, because it's not the first time that a team has thrown a dummy. If they think it's going to benefit them strategically, there's no law against it. So, run out, and everyone goes, "Oh God, Red Bull are coming in." So Mercedes then, and as soon as the Mercedes comes into the pits, Red Bull just scuttle off back into the garage, and then it's too late for them to say, "No, stay out." So okay, and they probably saw the traffic and everything that was going on and thought this could really benefit us here. And it did. And then there's Hamilton moaning on the radio about that he's lost places again. My heart bleeds for him.
Yeah. To be fair, compared to in Monaco, he was quite chilled with his where he was and everything.
I think, and towards the end of the race, when obviously Verstappen was out and they were waiting to restart the race, and he said it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you can sort of, I see where he's coming from, because it's a long season, despite the fact we've had a couple of cancellations. It's a long old season. So, fair play. But then he hit the wrong switch on his thing and just completely messed up his brakes and went skidding straight off. And that was the excitement there.
Some that he shouldn't have used it when warming up. But I don't think that's quite the case, because I heard one that seemed more realistic, that he used it because it shifts the balance to the front and away from the rear, and it helps to warm up the front brakes and tyres. And Mercedes struggle with that, so that's why they've got the system. Yeah. And so he used it, got them nice and hot, and then apparently where he has his hand on the top of the wheel, which is different to everyone else's starts, he caught the button, shifted the balance to the front, and that's why he locked up.
Straight off. Perez did quite well to avoid that, because he could have easily gone out into him. JD's comment. I quite like Perez. I think he deserves that Red Bull seat, and he's proving that he's the right man for it, because Red Bull need a driver like him. Can you see Albon really fighting, for example, in that sort of way that Perez did? He's got the experience. He knows what he's doing with his tyres. And if something happens to Max, he's the sort of person you need.
Yeah, I felt at that moment with the restart, you needed a calm, collected head and someone with a bit of experience. And Perez is the better man in that position. Yeah.
I kind of get the feeling if it was someone like Albon, he would have tried too hard to think, right, okay, I need to get the win here. He would have tried too hard. Maybe there would have been a move it could have ended in retirement for him or Lewis, like back in Austria last year. He's been a bit too eager in the past, and it's ended up in contact. So Perez is just the kind of guy you need in that second Red Bull. And thanks to him, they've extended their lead at the top of the constructors, which is brilliant. So best of a bad situation for Red Bull.
I couldn't believe how far Ferrari were up again.
Yeah, they were looking really good.
Baku's more of a twisty circuit than I remembered it was, and apparently that's still part of the reason as soon as you go to the faster ones. But they still had fair pace down the straights as well, to be fair to them.
Yeah, they're not looking too bad. It's going to be interesting to see how they do in France in a couple of weeks, because it's quite a quick circuit. It's not really a sort of tight, twisty one. We've had obviously two very similar circuits with Monaco and Baku. But they were looking really good. No one expected Charles to get pole, which was awesome. Unfortunately, he fell away a bit at the end, but he almost got a podium. So close to getting another podium. And I don't know who to root for, him or Gasly, really, because I quite like them both. Gasly's been phenomenal this year.
Gasly's okay. I've never quite been sold on him, but I could say the same for Sainz until he came to McLaren. So maybe he needs a move to McLaren for me to like him. Maybe.
Well, there's talking of McLaren. There's a comment there from Hox. Lando had a solid drive. He's having a great season, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's brilliant. Definitely. Was he fifth?
I was annoyed by the mistake with the red flag or the double waved yellows, or I can't remember quite what it was in qualifying. He didn't slow down or go into the pits and that sort of thing, and he ended up getting that 3-place penalty.
Yeah, that was a shame, because he had a good qualifying, and it's just become sort of typical of the Lando we know this year, really. He just, I don't know whatever track it is, he just always seems to be around the top 5, which is brilliant. It's showing Ricciardo up in a bit of a bad light, but
yeah. How did you find the qualifying? Because I found myself getting quite frustrated with that. Every time that drivers were about to throw in a quick lap, someone ended up stuffing it into the wall and messed it all up.
It was a very stop-start, wasn't it? Because it only just started, and then there's Stroll bidding it in the barrier, and then it restarts, and Giovinazzi, and then someone crashed in Q2. Ricciardo crashed in Q2, and then Tsunoda and Sainz in Q3. So this has just been such a stop-start qualifying. There's no sort of, because when you usually don't get red flags in quali, so you can just sort of keep the excitement going. But it was difficult to really get excited about it until it was the dying seconds of Q3.
Yeah.
The race was so much better. Sorry, go.
Yeah, Red Bull asked or spoke to the FIA and ended up saying that it's not safe to carry on to potentially red flag it, and they did, obviously, and they had a stand and restart. Do you think that was the correct call?
I think it was, because until Pirelli aren't going to really say what it was, because they don't want to come out in that bad light. They're not going to come out and say, yeah, all right, we had 2 tyre failures. So of course they'll say something like debris. But I think it was the right call, because you don't really, in that instant, you don't really know what caused those failures. And you've got 2 laps, which are going to be literally full throttle, balls to the wall laps, because you've got a 2-lap sprint race for points, for win, podium, whatever it may be. So the tyres are going to be going through some stress. So you're probably better putting new tyres on. But talking of that FIA race chat, did you hear McLaren talking to the FIA? And they said, Tsunoda sped under yellow flags. And they said, yeah, so did you. Everyone did. So shut up, basically. That was brilliant. I love that.
That was spoken about, though, by the Sky pundits. And they ended up saying that how can they speed because they're given a set time to go to.
Yeah,
So
it's
if the
odd, isn't
set
it?
time they go to is too quick, surely they need to just slow that time down.
Yeah, you'd have thought, because the FIA basically tell them how quick to go, so they do. It's a strange one, but yeah, a couple of comments from JD. The new F1 game. I've seen that review, or not seen a review. I've seen a sort of some bio about it, and with the co-op career, it does look really good. I can't wait for that out in July. It's actually the weekend. It's out the weekend I'm going to the British Grand Prix, so I can't play it on release day like I have done for about 10 years, which is bittersweet. But yeah, another comment. Ricardo, he's having a terrible year because everyone else who's moved teams seems to have now got to grips with their car. Vettel in the Aston and Sainz in the Ferrari. And then there's just Ricardo struggling in that McLaren.
I'd say Alonso is still slightly struggling compared to his teammate.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He's still not quite there yet, is he?
But he had time out, whereas Ricardo should, by now, at least be showing something, but he's not showing enough for me. I'm not sure. I'm starting to get the feeling, is he actually going to? Because even Lando's admitted this car is difficult for him. It's not quite where he wants it. He's had to adjust. So if he's having to adjust and so is Ricardo, why is there still that much time between them?
I know, it's a tricky one, especially for a guy of Daniel's sort of caliber and experience. He's been in Formula One a long time now. He's driven plenty of different cars for plenty of different teams, so he should really know. And it's not like he's not done it before. He went from Red Bull to Renault. He's now gone. He's not just obviously changed teams; he's changed engine providers. So I get that that's a big difference. But other drivers have done it. Seb went from a Ferrari engine to a Mercedes engine. I really hope he does start to get to grips with it soon. But like you say, we've had 5-6 races now.
Yeah,
What's he going to?
Am I right in believing that his first season at Renault, he was quite mediocre? It took him that season to get better. And obviously what we remember is him last season doing some great displays.
Yeah, because he had, 2 years at Renault? So I know he'll obviously be at McLaren for 2022 when you've got the new cars coming out. Maybe that's sort of what he's got one eye on. Same as people like Fernando Alonso. I reckon they've got one eye on 2022. Whole new cars. He's got a year to get up to speed with what he's got now, and then he'll obviously have time over the winter to get used to that McLaren for next season, which will obviously be drastically different from this year. So I think next year you could see him start to fight up there with Lando and fight for podiums, and who knows what's going to happen in 2022. The pecking order could be really mixed up. But it's going to be a long, painful season for Ricardo fans, of which I am one. So it's going to be tough.
And every time you mention him, reminds me that I've got to take him out of my fantasy.
Yeah, coming on to the F1 fantasy, I subbed him out after. I think I subbed him out before Monaco because I just, as much as it hurt me, I couldn't have him in the team anymore. And I put Vettel back in a couple of races ago, so I've subbed him in at the perfect time because he's now earning me some decent points.
Yeah.
I was checking the standings before we went live, and I'm currently in the league. I'm currently sitting in 14th with 1,034. You're 19th with 1,000, and the Gov, he's down in 30th, 734 points. He's not having a good time. He's having a Ricardo season. With
me having Perez, he's helped me out a little.
Yeah, I managed to. I can't remember who I substituted out. I think it was Ricardo Raikkonen. I did as well. I've got Perez in there now. Leclerc is a turbo driver. So it's going well. I've had a couple of good races, but the league is certainly looking quite competitive now. It's looking really good. So I'm sort of happy with my team at the minute. But who knows what's going to happen in France? It's such a different circuit to the two we've been racing at previously. Who knows?
Would you say France would be a little bit more how Spain was?
Yeah, I think France will be quite dull because the past couple of races we've had there have not really set the world alight. It's not the most exciting track. The track, just for some reason, I don't know why they painted all those bright lines around the outside, but it gives you a migraine every time you look at it. It's awful. And there's so much runoff area that drivers can afford to run wide and they can afford to take a little extra curve here and there. and I think it just makes it a bit more. It makes it less exciting.
So what you're trying to say is Leclerc shouldn't get a pole and then a red flag happen because there's lots of runoff.
That's it. We've had 2 races when he's got a red pole and then a red flag. So I don't think it'll be Ferrari pole. I think they're going to struggle as well in France because it's a completely different circuit to the past 2. It's going to be a track that will suit Mercedes more than the likes of Red Bull. That car is a rocket on the straights. We saw that even without things like DRS in the race and quali last weekend.
The Mercedes had steeper wing angles as well. Everyone else pretty much went quite low on the rear wings. I think that's something that really hurt Bottas though, because he went sharper than Hamilton did. I guess it's a setup and balance thing that he just needed that feel. And
the one thing I find really hard to believe now, I mean, we all know that I do the bemoaning Bottas thing, and I do not enjoy it, but it's become a regular thing. How is he 6th in the championship in a Mercedes? It's ridiculous. He's behind Perez and Norris, and Leclerc, I think, as well.
Norris dropped one, didn't he?
Norris dropped. Perez has gone up to 3rd now.
Yep.
So it's as you were, top 2, Hamilton, Verstappen and Hamilton, and then Perez, Norris, Leclerc, and then Bottas in 6th in a Mercedes. That still what is the quickest car on the grid, because the Red Bulls are still not the quickest. That most dominant car, the car that has been the dominant since 2014, he is 6th in the championship. That is, if I was Bottas, I'd be embarrassed. Because I know that obviously Imola, well, there was blame with both Bottas and Russell for what happened there. Monaco, not his fault, but he had no pace at all in yesterday's race, and he's only got a few 3rd places this year. I
bet you wish he never got on his plane after all.
Oh yeah, he missed his flight, didn't he?
There was some issues with his private plane, wasn't there? So he was delayed getting.
Yeah, and he probably thinks, why did I even bother? But I think that's the thing. I know that a couple of races this year it's been bad luck, and he hasn't really been able to do anything about it, like the Imola and obviously mostly Monaco. But the races he has been in, like Azerbaijan and the other races, he's never really looked like fighting for a race win. Verstappen and Hamilton are on another level this year. Perez, you can sort of give a bit of leeway to because he's still getting used to that car and getting used to that team. But Bottas has been there years now. It just shows how much of an average driver he is. And I feel bad saying it because I like the guy. As a person, I like him.
I almost wonder that with the talk that he's already potentially been told he can leave at the end or he will not be renewed, with performances like this weekend, he's not doing himself any favours for new potential drives with other teams. No. Who's going to take him on with that display?
Because if you're in Bottas's point of view, then okay, you've been told that the chances are you're not going to stay. If he has been told, that he's not going to be at that team next year, you're going to want to put yourself in the shop window for a couple of reasons. You're going to want to say, right, okay, Mercedes, you're wrong for getting rid of me. Look what I can do. And also, if you want to find yourself a drive with another potential race-winning team, because like you said, who knows what's going to happen next year, you're going to really want them to think, what about Valtteri? Not, he's the guy that's been absolutely steamrolled for 4 or 5 years in a row. You want to think, okay, we need a guy who can fight for wins and he can fight for championships. But there's been instances in the past where drivers have overtaken him with a proper balls to the wall maneuver, and he's just sort of sat back and let it happen. Defend, fight for your position. There's no hunger. There's no fight. It frustrates me because every other driver seems to show fight. I was talking a fight like Mazepin showed too much fight at the end of that race when he almost put himself and his teammate in the wall.
Yeah, Schumacher wasn't very happy, was he?
No, I've not heard Schumacher speak very much because there's not a lot of radio chatter when you're fighting at the back of the grid. But every time you have heard him, he sounds so nice and so softly spoken, and he comes out and he's swearing. He's, oh, does he want to kill us? Because it was a dodgy move by Mazepin.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
it was unnecessary, really, wasn't it? Was it the last lap of the race, and Schumacher just got the run on him?
Yeah,
line?
it was. It was literally down the back straight. Schumacher moves to the right, and then last minute, Mazepin goes to defend. And if Schumacher hadn't reacted, there's a big pile up there.
Thing is, there's defending, and then there's how late he left it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that happen a few times, and it's just, I think, a mixture of maybe inexperience and just stupidity. Because, I mean, regardless of what formula you're in, you don't move to defend that late because there's just going to be a crash, and that could have been nasty because they're concrete barriers. Like they said yesterday, Lance Stroll was quite lucky, and Verstappen as well, because concrete barriers, you hit them at 200 miles an hour, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it was luckily that there was an impact, but it was almost a run along the barrier rather than a Grosjean absolutely smash into it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in material. These were concrete barriers. There's not a lot of movement on them.
No, not at all. But yeah, it was, I think until Lance Stroll's incident, it was a relatively quiet race. It was just a procession. Stroll was doing a great job staying out there on the hard tyres. And then as soon as he hit the wall, it's sort of, okay, that's when things started to spice up. And then those final few laps were just insane.
Everyone wanted to dive into the pits, but because of where he crashed, it closed off the pit lane. Yeah.
And Latifi got a penalty for that as well. Because there was, I don't know if you heard the radio chat between Williams and Latifi.
There's the second one. They said stay out. But he was supposed to go through the pit lane.
Yeah, but I think, to me, Latifi's got no fault here, because if you were to say stay out, if I'm driving my F1 car and someone says, oh, stay out, to me that means stay out on the track. Because you can see a red flag and he's going, but stay out means stay out. And the engineer's going, oh, sorry. Because he meant come into the pits, but stay out in the pit lane, not come into the pit.
Stop, yeah.
But to me, stay out is a command which drivers are used to hearing, to staying out on the circuit. So I don't think there's much blame on Latifi's side here. I think that was just a momentary lapse of concentration for Williams. But it was another tough weekend for Williams as well. They were nowhere. Russell again through to Q2. He's doing such a great job on Saturdays, but the car just can't do it on a Sunday. And it's so painful. It really is. Because you think, maybe this time, maybe this is the weekend. And
poor Russ. Yeah, they'll scrape a few points, but no.
Yeah, I thought they tried something different at the start, because Russell came in at the end of lap 1 and then fitted the hard tyres. I thought they were going to try and go to the end. And, that's enough of that. Come on, boo-hoo. He deserves a point, man. He's been doing so well in that absolute shitbox of a car. I thought this year might be better, but it's turning out to be just the same.
Not seeming to be.
No, I know we've got a long way to go. He'll win a point. He would have had Bottas not stopped him. But I thought we were going to get a fight. Actually, talking to Bottas as well, I thought we were going to get a fight at the end, because Bottas and Russell were getting quite close at one point. There were only a couple of seconds between them. And I thought, can you imagine Russell overtaking Bottas again in a Williams? That sums up Bottas' season so far. Just swap the drivers around.
Racing a Williams, yeah.
That just sums up the season for Bottas. And it's
would Williams want him back?
I think they'll take him. Yeah, I think they'll take him, because he's now been to the top dogs. He now knows how they operate. And a team like Williams, who are now on a rebuilding sort of plan and scheme, and it's going to take a few years for them to get anywhere meaningful. I'm under no illusions about that. I don't expect them to come in 2022 and start fighting for podiums. But for a team that's now going through a restructure and a rebuild, I think getting someone like Bottas would be ideal, because he's now seen how the top dogs operate, and he could come in with some good insights, on how to not fight anyone. So
he's got a good view of Hamilton's rear wing.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows exactly how the rear end of the quickest cars work. So he can give all that information to Williams, and we can get there. But we will see. We will see. But I think that just about wraps it up for this week. Got a nice little half an hour show under our belt there. We're heading to France in a couple of weeks' time. for what will hopefully be an exciting French Grand Prix. I'm not holding my breath, though, because I know that none of the French Grand Prix we've had there in the past have been particularly exciting. To be honest, I'd rather they went back to Manicourt. That wasn't the best, but had better races than Paul Ricard.
I was going to say Manicourt was never one of my favourites either, but it's still better.
My best memory of Manicourt is Fernando Alonso doing commentary over a lap he did. And every time he said the word chicane, it just sounds like chicken. It's awesome. You come to the first chicane, and the second chicane. Oh, brilliant. That says something when that's your most memorable thing of a circuit. But anyways, suppose we better wrap it up here. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching. We do appreciate it very much. We shall see you on Monday again. Hopefully it will be the three of us this time, and Martin will have recovered well. And we shall be here at 7:15 for the preview of the French Grand Prix. And also, who knows what else we might have up our sleeve. So we'll see you then.